2 of the not-so-mystery Gone Awol Tour. We're here with, obviously, Luke Harris from Gone Awol and an extremely special guest.
This is my favourite winemaker going round. This is Steve. We're at Danshi Rise, and as I've told you 1,000 times, this is where I fell in love with wine, and this is why I do what I do, because of what we've got here and Steve himself.
So it's all Steve's fault?
It's all Steve's fault that I have an alcohol problem. Yes.
And you do have some chronic man love for Steve.
I do have some chronic man love for Steve. I do.
For Steve. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about your history. We're sitting on the top of...
I'd say the bottom of Willunga Hill, just overlooking Willunga, McLaren Vale, the ocean. I mean, this is probably the most scenic place going around. When I think about here, I think about Victory Hotel in terms of same kind of vibe and location.
The view's just, you can't buy it. You wouldn't need a TV, would you? You just sit out and drink some nice wine on the patio, watch the lightning over the sea from here.
Yeah, I bought this site about 30 years ago with the intentions of growing wine grapes and making wine. When I bought it, it was planted to almond trees, but I sat on those for, I don't know, about 8 years, I think it was, because I couldn't afford to do the vineyard thing. Anyway, I worked in the oil industry for quite some time. 1998 was the year I bulldozed the almonds and planted the vineyards that same year. Still working in the oil industry, I sold fruit to some of the local wineries. Once I got to the right point in time, 2003, I pulled the pin on the oil industry, started to make wine. Started very small, just a few tonne, and that just slowly grew over the years.
Can I ask you a quick question? How did you start making wine? Where did you get the knowledge from to start making the wine?
I used to go and help a mate of mine.
So it was self-taught, learned knowledge?
Yeah, it's all self-taught. Yeah, but I did 2 or 3 years up in his facility. It was a lot of fun. Drank a lot of wine. It gave me the confidence to invest the amount of money it takes to, produce wine. Came in here, a few years, just a few tonne. Every year it slowly went up until I got to the point where I now process all the fruit, and it's generally around 50 tonne off this site.
What are the main varieties of fruit that you're growing on the site?
I predominantly Shiraz. That's the biggest patch I've got, and there's a little tiny bit of Cabernet and a little tiny bit of Tempranillo. I buy a little bit of Grenache fruit from a guy down the road, and I'll buy a bit of Vedra from the guy over the road from him.
So all in the same location kind of thing?
Yeah,
still,
it's all on Colville Road. It's just down the road a K or two. Pretty similar sort of soils. It's hard work. It's hard soil. The grapes are working very hard, but it delivers beautiful concentrated fruit.
So the hard work in the vineyard is giving us the quality of the fruit?
Yeah, the soil type is Currajong.
Yeah. Which
is, mishmash of shales and rocks. I can't remember everything that's in it. It delivers a beautiful fruit. We're quite fortunate there. Most of my wines are quite big alcohol, but we can achieve that without being too hot, because the fruit weight is so powerful. There's beautiful deep-seated black fruit. It's lovely, and you'll experience that when you try these wines.
That's probably no time like the present, is it?
No time like the present.
Let's crack into one. What are we going to crack into first?
We'll start with the Grenache Tempranillo. Now, the Grenache component of this is 70%. 60%. And that Grenache component comes off a guy just down the road from me. And the Tempranillo, which is 40%, is off this site here. Lovely aromas of tobacco and cigar box and leather.
There's no point having a tiny bit in the glass. We've got to have a couple of good goes at it. Try it with a little bit of food.
Yeah.
So on the nose.
Just give it a little bit of air, guys.
Yeah. No real hurry.
It's been asleep in that bottle since 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
You don't usually share this with me.
No, this is, in terms of his wines, this is what you're buying.
Yeah.
2015s. I mean, there's 2014s, there's 2013s of various different types. With groups here, 2015 is the oldest or youngest, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And you go backwards. So you've already got the wines that have been aged. I mean, how long was this in the barrel?
Oh, the Grenache component wasn't that long. Yeah, it's probably 18 months to it.
Yeah, when you say not that long, I mean 18 months in a barrel. You know, I think what makes here different to many others is that Steve puts the time into doing it right.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to get out a 2020 or a 2019 that year to be in the market. You know, you're drinking wines here that are trying to do what they need to do. And I don't know about you, I can smell this wine, and I'll say it again and again, and I will know out of 1,000 wines, Steve's wine, because you can smell, and I guess it comes from the minerals that are in the soil here. There's something, particularly, well, actually with the Shiraz as well, but particularly the Grenache, there's something about the Grenache that's grown along here, and all the fruit that's grown along here, that's very different to your Blewett Springs or your McLaren Vale, and it is the style of wine that I love, and I know when I bring guests, they are blown away by what we get here.
Right. So what is the difference in the smell? You said more mineral smelling, or?
Oh, it's just big. It's just so bold, and you know that leather that you get in there. And I don't mean to be wanky about wine, but you know when
you're doing a good job.
Well, thanks, mate. Well, being wanky, or something about, I know it's the wrong word, but a thickness to it. You know, there's just depth of flavour, and I can and we were talking before about white as opposed to red. If you give me a white, a Sauvignon Blanc, I'm going to throw it down, or a Rosé, I'm going to throw it down. This, I can sit and smell. And
you can more appreciate it more?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, you can sit on it for an hour just smelling it.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah, so can I. And even when I'm done with it, you know, you should smell the glass afterwards. It's a saltiness that I smell in your wines when it's done.
It's very, like you said, dark in colour as well.
Yeah.
Very dark berry, almost plum looking, especially for a Grenache. Is a temp usually a darker or lighter variety?
Yeah, it is. A little darker.
Yeah.
But you know that's where that lovely cigar box and leather's coming from. I think is the Tempranillo.
Well,
it's beautiful.
Can we drink here?
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
You can imagine we're a hot summer's day today, but it's beautiful in here anyway. But you imagine that on a cold winter's night with like a big pizza, quite flavoursome pizza, chorizo or something in there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Chorizo on the barbecue, warm calamatas, and that is sensational.
Yeah. Sounds like a pretty good pairing. I might have to have some of this chorizo that you brought along here.
Yeah, well.
For it.
And that's just a bit of a plug here. That's from the guys down at the shopping centre down at Seaford who have opened up in doing the cheese in there. You had them on your show.
Oh, cheers to you.
Yeah, cheers to you, yeah.
She sources all her products as locally as she can. And the good thing about it is too, she does all different sorts of platters, and she's delivery.
Oh, okay.
So you could ring her up, if you had a heap of group here, you could ring her up and say, bring us up a platter. And bring you up a platter. Cheese to you. That's the whole ethos behind her. And you love getting an ultra spicy one when you know I'm coming down.
Well, Steve set me up here years ago. He used to grow chilies just down here. He'd always come, he'd have the Lazy Susan with some cheese and whatnot. And this is the second or third time I came with the group. This is when I was on a wine tour myself. And I delved into this chili. Little did I know that it was, at that time it was the hottest chili in the world. And for the next 15 minutes I was hallucinating and I had stuff dripping out.
So you were like the Homer on the big chili contest?
Yeah.
Right, anyway, before we got sidetracked. That chorizo, I think I actually bought some of the spice out
in the wine?
In the wine as well, yeah.
It does, yeah.
And when you were describing it, I was thinking it was going to be really bold, and I find it difficult to drink a really heavy wine. I'm a bit of a girl, and where that's concerned. I like a lighter style wine, but this is very easy to drink. full of flavour.
Yeah.
The cigar boxes are perfect.
Yeah. And when we come here now, Steve, he does a few varieties. We generally do his Grenache that we start off with, which are you bottling the 2016, 2017?
Yeah, that's going to be bottled towards the end of the month, 24th or 5th, I think.
And that's the 2016 and 2017?
Yeah.
And then, so, if you go to my wine cellar, I've got most of my wines are Steve's, and the Grenache I've seriously got about 40 bottles of. It is exceptional wine. So you start with the Grenache, you go to the Grenache Mourvedre, you go to the Grenache Temp, which we're having now,
Righto.
and then you get on to his bigger, your Shiraz and whatnot. But it's such a, just beautiful steps, and you can, that Grenache, I can, in each of them, it's subtle, but it's also, it comes through really well.
But Grenache and Tempranillo, to me, it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
It's beautiful wine.
Do you think that's what really launched Grenache, was when people started making the blend of those two? Because, going back 15 years ago, we had that much Grenache, no one could sell it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a popular wine, but I'm just trying to work out what the turning point for Grenache was.
I think just the focus,
Yeah.
People, there would have been guys out there making it and thinking, mate, how good is this stuff? If we put some effort into this, where's it going to end? And everyone's picked it up, and McLaren Vale's doing a really good job of it. And the more effort you put into, the growing, and then the winemaking, and then the marketing, there's a lot more focus on it, and people are then, some guys would walk into a wine shop and wouldn't even look at a Grenache, but because they're hearing about it and seeing it, Grenache, I'll try one. And then they realise how good it is.
And I get guys over from the East Coast, and they don't even know what a Grenache is, and they come here, and you see them, they're just like, their heads are spinning, and this is guys, sometimes who are big wine drinkers, or really know their stuff, or they've got, quite often on tour, I have, you people who really know their stuff, but there'll be a few who aren't wine drinkers, but I could say 98, 99% when they come here and they taste the Grenache varieties in particular, their head spins and they go, wow, I don't usually like reds, but...
So where do you reckon Grenache originated from?
Northern Spain.
Northern Spain.
Mate, you are an oracle.
The Aragon region? Was it the Aragon region?
Well, I think that's what he mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, that was what it...
Yeah.
Well, the reason I bring it up is, obviously, when I think of Grenache, I think of Blewett Springs.
Yep.
Until you forced a few of these down me, and then all of a sudden I started changing my thinking. Hang on a minute. And then, obviously, Mark Curtis as well, got an amazing Grenache. And McLaren, so we'll say McLaren Vale, Blewett Springs, and the Riverland are claiming that they're catching up.
Yeah, right.
They want to throw a challenge out. So I think we're going to have to, we might grab some Curtis, and we might grab some of Steve's Grenache, and the Riverland are going to bring a couple of varieties of there down. You want to come on?
Grenache show.
The Grenache show.
Yeah.
In fairness to your comment a minute ago about this, a component of Grenache in here that I bought from out at Blewett Springs. Yeah.
Just how much?
Oh, I can't remember how big the production was, but I think it might have been two ton of stuff out there.
Yeah.
And it was sort of mid-season pick.
Okay.
And there's two components to the stuff down the bottom, an early pick and a late pick, and then that stuff from Blewett Springs, which was mid-season.
So what alcohol are we sitting at for this one?
I reckon it's about 14.4 or something.
What happened to yours, mate?
Yeah, mate, it's that hot day.
Evaporated.
Yeah.
Oh, I just can't read that. Can you read that?
Well, I've only got the one, mate, so
Yeah, but
14.9.
it was probably double powered,
No, I'm in on it. 14.9. Yeah.
14.9, yeah, there you go.
So a usual Grenache would be a little bit, that's about 15, 16.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I sample the grapes.
Yeah, I'm hearing this a lot, especially from the better winemakers. And the Riverland, I'll keep going back to that because we're recently there, but they're tasting the fruit and knowing when to pick it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think most guys do that.
Yeah, right. There's a novice coming out again.
yeah, well, I didn't want to say anything.
But I think the larger wineries have constraints. I mean, you know, they're bringing that much fruit in. They can't pick it all ideally when the viticulturist thinks so, or the winemaker. They can't. No, we've got to do it this week because next week we got whatever. And
Whereas you guys are picking at the ultimate.
This is all I do.
Yeah.
You know, a small batch, 50 tonne. I'm all ready for it, and I'm out there, you know, walking the vineyards, tasting, and trying to pick my, call my picking day.
Yeah.
And you know, the flavours always lags behind the sugar. So the more sugar you got, the higher the alcohol. But if your flavour's not there, you're not going to pick it, you know. But I'm quite lucky. I've got really deep-seeded fruit. If it ends up, you know, in the high 15s, well, so be it. You know, it'll carry it.
It seems that it's coming across as the key. There's got to be that really deep, rich fruit to carry the high alcohol content.
Yeah, it makes a difference. You know? But I mean, you know, it's a difficult thing, you know, because a lot of people are very aware of how much alcohol they're drinking, you know, and they want it lower. Yeah. And you know, and some grapes, you know, they carry a little bit more finesse. The wine does, you know, if it's a lower alcohol. And not everybody wants that big stuff.
Where we're going next is really interesting because Steve's a big, ballsy, you know, when you think of McLaren Vale, and what I love about McLaren Vale is this, you know, just there's just so much to them. You know, they're so rich, and this is totally my style, but it's really interesting. I've been going to a lot of guys recently, like where we're going next, and his are really finessed, and and I've got to be honest, I never look at the alcohol content. It's just something that I'm all about. Whatever's in it's in it, and that's that. But a lot of guys at the moment are finessing them down, and they're still fantastic. And it's amazing, you know, a Shiraz from here and a Shiraz from here, or Grenache from here or Grenache from here. They could be different wines. Well, you know, they're exactly the same grapes, but they're done differently, and that's what I love about doing wine tours and being involved in this industry is that there's so much variation.
I'm a bit similar to you. I would never look at the alcohol content, but I just like a lighter wine because I find it easier to drink. But having said that, there's some heavier wines with the rich fruit that are also easier to drink. Like that, very, very easy to drink. I'm going to move straight on to the
well, I'll let Steve introduce it, but this is, I mean, this is the wine here that I came on a wine tour. This is going back about 10 years ago, and we'd had a few. We may have been a little bit loose at that stage. Sat down and we drank this, or not 2014. This is, I think we were drinking this 2009 or 2000. Actually, it was 2008 then. Kind of at the end of a wine tour, you get a bit confused because you know you may have had a few. And I mate, no, this stuff is magnificent. And then, you know, bought some and actually ended up buying about 4 cases, to be honest. And when my hangover subsided about 3 days later, I tasted it again. I was like, wow. And that's where my love affair with wine came from this baby here.
So I don't think you could possibly have talked to that much more. So.
Yeah, well done, Luke.
Who needs marketing when you got Luke?
Something about Steve's and these small producers is if you have the 2013 as against the 2014 against the 2015, totally different. Yeah. Still, you can taste that they're Steve's, and I've got a lot of the 2013, a lot of the 2013, I've got a lot of the 2014. But I'll let Steve take over here because he'll tell you about them.
Before Steve takes over, let's me and you talk about it, and then we'll have the expert talk about it.
Okay.
I'm going to say what I think.
Give it.
I think that can't possibly be as good as you talked it up. But let's have a crack. Obviously, extremely dark in colour. It's almost black.
Get some air onto this.
Get some air. How long would you usually decant this for at home? Couple of beers?
Well, to be honest, what I'd usually do is I'd crack it, I'd pour some in a glass, and then put it in a decant. So I would drink it straight. I'm not that restrained, but I think if you gave this 30 minutes to an hour, I mean, it could do with more if you wanted to, but straight out of the bottle, it's gold. But it definitely give it a little bit of time, and it's going to change into a totally different beast.
Yeah. What I suggest people do with it loves a bit of air. I mean, I like it with about 6 hours of air. But I say to people that, mate, if you decide you're going to have that nice char-grilled steak tonight for dinner, you take it out of the freezer, decant the wine. Then, as long as it's in it.
Hang on, this is an awesome tip.
I like it.
So you're getting the food prepared.
Yeah.
Decant the wine.
Yeah. When you eat that decision in the morning before you go to work, you know, say 8 o'clock or whatever, take the steak out of the freezer. decant that, put that in a nice cool spot.
Yeah.
And you come home from work and into it, and it's going to show itself for everything it is.
We're going to have to do it.
Yeah, well.
Oh, no, actually, you do it, and then ring me up when the steak's ready.
You do the steak, I'll do the wine.
And you do the steak.
Okay, fantastic.
You do the wine.
But again, with this one here, I get a little bit overexcited about this, but it's, you know, seriously, you give it a swirl, you smell it, and it's just, I could do that, and again, I'm trying not to be a wanker about this, but it is...
No, just go for it. If you love something, go for it.
It is that good. And I can't do that with a lot of wines.
Fair enough.
But with something like this, and I shouldn't say a lot of wines, but you know, I certainly can't do it with, you know, a white. It just doesn't give me the same satisfaction.
Yeah. And what would the Luke Harris, I'm totally in love with this wine note say?
Well, I wouldn't be able to tell you the colour because I'm colourblind. I'd just say it's dark.
Well, that's pretty good.
And I
description.
just go, it's big, bold, ballsy, and it's
What about drinkability?
I mean, you go to my wine cellar. There's about 300 wines in there, and there's at least 100 of these of Danshi Rise.
So you're not drinking them, or?
No.
Oh, there was 200.
Let's just say,
Either way.
when I go on a tour here, I usually pick up a couple of bottles and I try and sneak them in downstairs and put them under the cellar.
Fair enough.
Into the cellar.
So I can't wait any longer after you've talked it up so long, but. It just grabs me as bold, like you said, but I've just got this easy drinking. Like, I don't usually like a massive Shiraz because I don't like the aftertaste and the difficulty of drinking, but this, difference in quality, mate. Maybe it is the difference in quality of the dark fruit, even, and because it's obviously high in alcohol, but it doesn't taste it.
No. Just delay this 6 hours and see what it changes into. Because it will be a totally different wine, and it's not to say that's not a fantastic wine now, because it is. You decant it and it changes it completely.
And what would you be pairing it with? Steak.
Wine.
What, more wine.
And a glass.
More wine. A decanter and a glass.
No, I mean, if I was going to have anything with it, I'd be having a steak. You know, T-bone.
Nice roast. So let's hear from the expert. You tell us more about this wine. You tell us.
Yes, 2014 Shiraz. It's big, bold, and beautiful. It's a very serious example of McLaren Vale Shiraz, I think. A big medley of those baking spices, and on the nose there's this real charcuterie meatiness to it. It's just lovely.
Meatiness. That actually sums it up perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's that thickness that's to a lot of these wines. There's that meatiness, and it may not appeal to a lot of people, that word, but it's it describes what you got here. It's there's texture to it.
There's big plum and dark fruit.
Yeah, I was going to say real dark berry.
Yeah.
But just a really nice finish too, isn't it? Really nice finish.
Yeah, well it is. I love the structure of it, you know. It's a lovely, I mean, the tannin in it, it's, you know, it's soft, but powerful, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, the structure,
and that's what scared me off.
It's just beautiful.
Really was. I don't think, maybe it was just from being a novice and my palate's changing, but I had never really experienced power and softness together.
Yeah.
And this is a great example.
It's really interesting. See, the 2013, I think, and I'm stealing Steve's thunder here because he'll agree with me, but that's, I think, why I like it here so much, is because we agree on our taste so much. But maybe the 2013 is drinking really, I love the 2013. But the 24, I need to rephrase, I love every single one of them. The 2014 has a softness to it, whereas I think the 2013's got a little bit more maybe tannin going on. Personally, you may disagree with me, but I've got loads of both of them, and I'm really interested to see what they will both do with time.
Yeah.
But Steve thinks this one. Well, tell us what you think this is going to do.
Well, I think this is a better balanced wine. You know, I mean, those tannins. I mean, it's powerful McLaren Vale Shiraz fruit. The tannin and the acid in it is just sitting so well with it. I love the structure of it, and I think that delivers so much to the wine. You know, that balance.
Yep.
Balance is everything.
Yep. And it's quite interesting because we've been tasting this now for quite a while. And when I say we, I mean on tours.
Yeah.
And this compared to last year has changed. So we were drinking this last year, and I felt last year there was, and I mean this in a good way because I like it. There's a, and I say compost or mushroom to it. There's an earthiness to it.
And that's better.
Yeah. Which I really enjoy in a wine. But I would say that's gone down a tone. It's just that it's become that little bit more refined and smoother in the last year. And you know how smooth is it?
Oh man, she's drinking, drinking perfectly.
It's a 14, but it's still a baby. Another couple of 3 years is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean it's butter going down, isn't it? You know, it's just like,
liquid gold almost.
Yeah.
So where do people get this such amazing wine? Would they can they order from your website, or are they better off giving you?
I don't even have a website.
So they got to give you a call or come up?
Just ring me.
Yeah. Only available from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't deal with the trade. It's all direct sales, and you know we're only small producers.
Yeah.
And,
so what's the best? Give you a call.
Yeah, give me a ring.
Give you a call. Book in.
Yep.
Come up and have a tasting and grab some from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And around about what's the cost per bottle?
That's $25. Ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely ridiculous. And what about a case?
It's the same price.
Yeah.
$300.
300 still.
Yeah. I know it's crazy.
It is crazy.
And what's this going for?
30.
30.
Yeah.
That's a bargain. People can give you a call, come up and taste this amazing wine, or they can throw in some comments.
I was about to say they could come on a Gone Awol tour, but you know I thought you were about to plug me.
Right. Well,
Okay. Anyway.
you stole my thunder. They could comment on the show, or they could come on a Gone Awol tour.
Fantastic.
And is there a tour that doesn't come in?
There's not many. To
No,
be honest.
there isn't, is there?
There's not many. No.
And I can see why.
Yeah.
Pool of knowledge.
Yep.
An absolute pool of knowledge. Some cracking wine, and there's got to be something said for about the small batch producer, doesn't there? You're not on a deadline. You don't have to get 1,000 pallets out by X date to get into Dan Murphy's or anything like that.
Yeah.
You're releasing the wine when you know it's ready, and that's a huge difference. And tell me a bit about the vintage.
Yeah,
there was a bit of strife, wasn't there?
Yeah, I found it pretty tough. I mean, I don't think we had average rainfall. It was a little on the dry side, but those high temperatures we had in November during the flowering, you know, caused really, you know, shattered bunches. You know, there was flowers out there burning and dropping off, and in 40 odd degrees. And I think that really seriously affected the yields.
The quality of the fruit, though.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a little different to what I normally produce. You know, it's not, you know, quite as deep and dark, but nevertheless, it's a very pretty wine.
I want to jump in here because he is his harshest critic.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, and
That's always mine, so.
when we come in here and we do the barrel tasting, I see them looking at each other going, this is the 2020, and they're kind of comparing it. They're thinking about wines they may have drunk elsewhere, and they're blown away by what's coming out of the barrel. And this is the 2020 that, you know, let's get up, give it a crack, and see what you think.
Let's go try it.
I'm quite excited about this because, again, when I'm on tours,
You don't get to.
No, I don't get to. And I was lucky enough to spend 2 days during the vintage before we got hit by COVID to sit here with Steve, and well, not sit here. We were plunging in the barrels out the back, and
So you actually helped.
well, for only 2 days. I don't want to make out I've done much to this, but
I saw Steve laughing. But
yeah, it was for me. It was just I wanted to know what got this wine where it is, what the process is, and it was magic. It's just a really to go in out the back there and hear it bubbling away, and you know when it's munching on the yeast and it's doing its thing, and even you know with the temperature, because it was quite cool when we were doing it. So, which meant that it took longer for the fermentation to start, and it was just I think there's so much romance that comes with wine, and that's part of it. For me, it was just amazing. And listening to it, I actually filmed it. I got my camera, and I put the camera next to the barrels, and you can just hear it doing its thing, and it's just magic.
Yeah, it's a lovely experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this is you said a light colour. I'm not so sure. It looks pretty dark still.
Yeah, the colour.
It's
the
Danshi
colour is,
light. Danshi light.
Yeah, but I mean the colour of it is, it's serious. It's what I do, but the structure of the wine in the mouth is just that little bit brighter. I think it's not quite as.
Oh, I actually
it's lovely wine. Don't get me
I
wrong.
really like it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just like.
And I guess there's probably some people out there that would say this is better.
It's magic.
Yeah,
It's
it is. It's a good one,
Yeah.
but it's just not what I normally do.
Yeah.
It's deeper and blacker on the palate.
But that's been in barrel for how long?
6 months, I think.
Oh, what are we now? November. Yeah, it's probably bordering 6 months.
Yeah. And how long will you keep this one in the barrel?
I don't know. The stuff on my label probably 2.5 years.
Yep. And what sort of barrels are you using? What sort of oak?
American oak predominantly. My Cabernets go into French, but the Shiraz, I've played around with it a little bit, but yeah, I'll put it in AP John's American.
And you said it stays there for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So, when you go to Dan Murphy's, and nothing wrong with Dan Murphy's because there's fantastic wines there.
Yeah, please
I buy a lot of wine there. But you're buying quite often 2019s.
Yeah.
But this will stay in a barrel for 2 years. And then, by the time, you're selling it, it'll be 5 years before this one is, we'll be tasting. We're tasting at the moment, well, we've just gone 2013s, 2014s. We're doing the 2015 quite often here now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so we've got 5 years of stuff to be released yet or tasted here. So
I'm backing this is going to be a cracking wine.
Yeah, I think it will be.
Yeah. And like you said, it might be different than what you usually make,
Yeah.
but that's not
Every
saying it won't
vintage
be
I
good.
do is different, but
Yeah.
this is. I've got some strong feelings about how much difference it's going to be. But anyway, I'm sure I'm going to keep drinking it and enjoy it.
Yeah. I think that the people who purchase it in 5 years' time, they're going to get a real treat.
yeah. Well, and if you buy vintages here, you buy the vintages, it is an unbelievable ride to go on, tasting that climate or whatever happened that year, the dynamics of what happened that year, and every wine you'll get that in there, and there's a story to be told with that as well. And here with Steve, you get to hear that story. He can tell you about what happened that year.
Yeah. I must come to on your tour. I must come to.
Definitely.
So I've got to say cheers heaps. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Keep up the good work.
I was struggling that you're going to outdo Stop One, but mate, you're stepping it up.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah, totally different.
Yeah.
Which was awesome as well. And I guess that's the beauty of coming on one of your tours.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an
All right.
experience.
Let's pack up and go to Stop 3.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, mate.
You're welcome.